a lot of people I work with, they have this issue of the racing mind, right? So they are thinking about business, their mind is constantly active and they struggle to sleep. Think of this as pushing the brakes and the accelerator. What happens? Two things happen. First one is that you don't move, you don't go anywhere. The second one is that you burn out.
Your company will replace you within days, if not weeks. Your family does not have a replacement.
The only people that will remember that you worked late are your kids.
I want to welcome you to the second season of Couchonomics with Arjun. Join us this season as we go beyond fintech and payments and embark on the journey into the future of financial services, a future which will be shaped by existing and new developments in technology and innovation, including and not limited to the likes of embedded finance, open banking, ESG, various versions of metaverse, decentralized finance, digital currencies, and other trends. On the couch, we're going to have the most influential and progressive-minded founders, executives, investors, regulators, innovators, and industry commentators from across the MENA region and beyond. Join us as we unravel a multitude of layers of the financial services industry and try to learn how technology will continue to impact the world that we live in. Couchonomics with Arjun is proud to collaborate with some of the most respected and innovative names in the world of payments, fintech, and technology. Ardian is a reliable end-to-end payment solution that provides innovation and flexibility to help businesses achieve their ambition faster by turning payments into a strategic growth driver. Get everything you need with 2U, a Saudi-based super app for delivery, mobility, on-demand services, and a lot more. 2U connects you to everything you need to enrich your daily lives by building an ecosystem across its end consumers, merchants, and reps. Visa is a world leader in digital payments with a mission to connect the world through the most innovative, convenient, reliable, and secure payments network to enable individuals, businesses, and economies to thrive. Jidea is a leading fintech and payment solution provider founded in Saudi Arabia, expanding rapidly across the region with established operations in UAE and Egypt. Jidea's vision is to empower merchants with the tools to start, manage, and grow their business. M2P pioneers next-gen fintech through innovative offerings across payments, lending, and banking landscapes. Their comprehensive tech stack powers end-to-end banking services, BNPL, customized credit cards, prepaid cards, and more. Well, welcome to today's episode of Couchonomics with Arjun. And actually, I have a special episode. I think at the start of the season, I had told you that we were going to do 3 to 4 interesting episodes, which were not going to be about fintech, but extremely relevant to, I think, the audience which tunes in every week. And I should say thank you again for that. Joining me on the couch today is Diego Carrete. He is the Chief Wellness Officer with First Abu Dhabi Bank. For those of you who are not aware of First Abu Dhabi Bank, it is the largest bank in the UAE and one of the largest banks regionally within the MENA region. With that, I'd like to welcome Diego.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to the couch.
The pleasure is mine. I'm excited and looking forward to our conversation.
For a wellness expert, is the couch ergonomically fine?
I would do a couple of small adjustments, but yeah.
It'll be okay for the next hour for you.
It'll be
right?
okay.
Maybe the next guest will get a better couch to sit on because it'll be adjusted.
Maybe I'll give you some feedback, but so far okay.
So far so good. All right. No, so Diego, let me start with, I think I guess it's a compliment to, I guess, both yourself and also First Abu Dhabi Bank, right? Because it's actually quite refreshing, positively surprising that, an organization, a banking organization has actually taken a step towards, hiring someone in the capacity of a chief wellness officer, right? But that also begs the question to a number of us, what does the chief wellness officer do?
The role of a chief wellness officer is to enable the tools and resources for an organization to become healthy physically and mentally. So that's how I would define it.
Okay, cool. So I'm not going to get into the science of this, right? So while I know little about wellness in terms of what it entails, well, I'm not doing myself any service here. Let's put it this way. While I'm not a wellness expert, I think it's quite obvious, and I do understand that your mental and physical wellness, which are both interlinked. So, if you're physically healthy, the chances are you're mentally healthy. And if you're mentally healthy, physically, it has a direct impact. There's no doubt that it impacts both productivity. It also impacts your ability to deal with, stress and stress at work. And so therefore it results in a more productive professional, right? But we've known all this for quite a long time, right? This is not something which we woke up to as yesterday. I've known this for maybe 20 years, right? What is the burning platform? Or how did FAB come around to saying we need someone to come in right at the top of the organization or nearly the top of the organization to drive this agenda forward?
Right. When you look at data and when you look at the market worldwide, you would understand that there's basically three reasons why wellness would be considered important. Right. The first one is to act as a magnet towards talent. What could be a magnet for talent for generations that look beyond remuneration, such as Gen Z? It would be something above the paycheck, right? And wellness is a priority for them. So if we listen to those generations, wellness matters, freedom matters. And in this case, wellness is acting as a magnet to attract and retain talent.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Now, as I said before, why it also matters is because a healthy employee can produce more quality work in less time, especially in a world where everyone and everything begs for your attention and our attention span has massively reduced. A healthy employee who has the ability to feel great, productive, and focused is better for the organization. And the third reason is due to an apparent cost of resignation and attrition and a hidden cost. The apparent cost is what basically the company loses right away, cost of recruitment and whatever that may be. And there's the hidden cost, which normally is 3 to 5 times higher in form of, I would say, overburdening other employees because they have to take the workload meanwhile you find a new replacement. So retaining employees is a big saving for an organization. And that's the third why I would say why wellness matters. And it should, and I think it will become a must-have as opposed to a good to have.
Okay, so I'm going to be devil's advocate, right? I'm going to challenge you on this a little bit. So you give me 3 reasons. It's attractive to it's good to attract and retain talent, especially the Gen Zs. You said it's proven to drive productivity and hence all the right metrics alongside with metrics. And thirdly, you're saying that it's also allows you to sort of retain the wider audience, not just the Gen Z, right?
The third one would be, when it comes to retention, every time you lose an employee, like there's an apparent cost and a hidden cost.
So it's a cost avoidance tool, right? So my question here is, fine, why don't I just give a gym membership to everybody who joins, right? I give them a gym membership. I put a couple of treadmills in my office. I create an environment which is slightly more, more access to sunlight and whatever else is required to do it. I could do all of that, but there's got to be more to it for me to make a conscious decision that I'm actually going to go and hire a chief wellness officer who's basically going to come up with a whole series of systematic programs and interventions, and then get the whole organization to buy into it. The question I have is, how are you being able to get that buy-in from the organization and for people who have for years, and with all due respect, not generally cared for human resources because their accepted fate has been people come and go, we'll live with the attrition rate as long as I'm able to drive productivity. So how are you working on that change in culture at that senior level to buy into what you're saying?
Well, because we are thinking towards the leaders of the future, right? So Gen Zs are the ones who are going to be leading the organizations in 20, 30, 40 years' time, and having this infinite approach to business and to wellness, it's what's going to allow us to get there. So as humanity evolves, everything around it changes too. So the tactics and methods that we used to, or organizations used to deploy and display 30 years ago, they are way different than today.
No, so I can't agree with you, right? Because I can't agree more with you on this because a lot of people think that health, fitness, being thin means being healthy, which I think is completely incorrect, right? A lot of people think that dieting is the way to actually get to their healthiness, but it's got a lot of downside associated with it. So you really believe that the people out there, including the Gen Zs, right, who are the biggest consumers of the TikToks of the world and the Netflix of the world, generally want to be more healthy?
They have a different set of values. If we look at a 23, 25-year-old person, values a lot of different things. If we compare that person with someone who is in the 40s and 50s. And because they have a different set of values, the methods that we use to attract and retain and keep that person happy and productive and motivated and engaged are different. So motivations, as I said, go beyond remuneration, especially for a generation that understood after the pandemic that there's many ways to earn a living. You have kids today making $10,000 a day just by posting videos online, right? They have money that is sometimes unthinkable for their age or for what they do, right? And that's how the world has shifted. So once someone has that level of awareness that why would I go back or start in a 9-to-5, which is going to cut my freedom, if I can do this on the side and make, well, one of these things would be community, would be a bigger purpose than themselves. And of course, it needs to add something above the paycheck, which is what would be considered the employee value proposition of the brand, right? And that's why wellness is such an important element of Fab's employee value proposition, right?
Okay, so simple question. Please explain wellness to me.
I would say it's a combination of mental, physical, and emotional well-being, right? They are the tools and resources that enable you to reach that state of balance between your mental well-being, physical, and emotional as well. And if you look at how wellness has evolved, or I would say that 10 years ago, you would only look at wellness as something related to your physique, to how you look. Then you look at mental health and the importance that it has acquired, especially after 2020. Now we are even moving into emotional well-being as well, right? And if on top of that, we look at human beings wanting to live longer and longer and not only expanding and extending their lifespan, but their health span, then it just adds up to the right mechanism to attain that, which would be wellness.
Okay, so the follow-up question, because you left the door open for me, you just said wellness is a combination of physical, mental, and emotional well-being. I totally agree with you, and I guess I don't even need to agree with you, as in I believe in this, that all three of them are linked. You can tackle these independently, but the real result is holistically. But if just for the sake of this conversation, if I was to ask for someone who, let's assume, is struggling with all three aspects of that wellness, and is not yet in a psychiatric ward or in a hospital, where does one start his journey or her journey?
I would use the physical as the vehicle to attain the three. When you look at you saving or investing for your retirement, there's no guarantee that you're going to get there. You, me, nobody. However, when you invest in exercising, you're guaranteed to immediately get a return on investment because you're going to feel better. And on top of that, you're going to add years to your life. Exercise will give you an exponential return on investment in the short and in the long term. And I would start with the physical because there's certain physiological responses and hormones that are going to activate within your body that are going to automatically going to make you feel better mentally. And when you feel better mentally and physically, then there's more chances that you feel emotionally better too. There's strategies for each, but if I would have to choose a starting point, I'll just go exercise because that's what is going to give you the quickest and best bang for your buck, if that makes sense.
Okay, right, get it. So rather than going to a shrink, go to a gym.
I would say get active, move, go for a walk outside if the weather allows. That is proven, especially under sunlight, that is guaranteed to make you feel better. And then you can combine it with a psychologist, but I think the quickest return would be to get active, move more.
Okay, so let me ask a question, right? So a lot of what you've just said is, it's the truth. And we're aware of that. I think most people have read that, living a healthy lifestyle involves a certain amount of physical exertion. You don't have to be in the gym 2 hours a day, 7 days a week, but, you've got to make sure that, you are walking, you're moving your body, getting this blood circulation right? What do you do? And especially from an organizational context now, right? So these are not people who are coming to your house, paying you money to be advised, because at least there is a certain amount of, if I may say, incentive to follow through. How do you galvanize people who have stayed away from any sort of physical exercise, as simple as even walking during the day, right, while they're in the office, to start realizing that you need to change things? And I'll leave it as simple as smokers, right? Every smoker in the world is aware of the damage smoking does. But, copious amounts of people still continue to smoke. So how do you get people to, how does anyone get people to change that sort of age-old mindset and attitude?
Well, the thing that is often overlooked is the moment in which that person is. And when you look at this from a content and awareness perspective, I would say there is different levels. There's people who don't know they have a problem, that you need to sort of make them aware of the consequences. There's people who are aware that they have a problem but don't know there is a solution. There's people that know there is a solution but they don't know if it's for them. So you need to understand that there is a moment for each and every one. So how I started is by asking, right? So the moment I started at FAB, we launched a survey. So we know that there's certain symptoms, that people sit a lot, so there might be a need for posture correction, but we don't know exactly where that direction is headed. So how do we refine that compass? By asking questions. And then it's just a matter of chasing and grabbing the lowest hanging fruit. In this case was ergonomics. People were live listening to our ergonomic specialist who was teaching us how to adjust our workspace. So in this case, how do we convince them? I always set the example of the technological adoption model. You have an iPhone? You have an iPhone?
I do.
All right. You know that certain people sleep outside the Apple Store just because they want the last. You know those people, or you've heard of them. Well, those are the enthusiasts, right? So when you look at, I think it was by an author, Roger Moore, the technological adoption model. So when you launch a new technological product in the market, what are the different segments? So the ones who sleep outside of the Apple Store, they are the enthusiasts. Now, those are the people that we are focusing on first, that will help us build momentum, right? And they will get us to the mainstream market. And that's essentially how the conviction or momentum builds, because the different groups throughout that adoption model, as humans, we like to listen to the previous group to trust. So in that respect, we basically meet people where they're at. We leverage the enthusiasts, the guys who are eager to change, and essentially the snowball gets bigger and bigger. So that's how we started building it, and how we keep leveraging and generating momentum across the organization. So it's utilizing our own people to drive the movement forward.
Okay, so I'm gonna bring this home. I'm gonna use myself as the guinea pig here, right? So
let's do it.
Because I'm one of those people who, despite having all the ambassadors or the what were you saying, the enthusiasts around me, they have not been able to make me enthusiastic, right? So I'll paint a picture, right? So I'm unfortunately on the wrong side of the 40s now, right? I work in management consulting, which arguably is full of long hours, lots of traveling, so anxiety levels which are deeply embedded in our way, because everyone who takes a flight every day, even if they're frequent flyers, there's a certain degree of anxiety. We're constantly catching deadlines, deadline to get here, deadline to get to an airport, getting to your hotel. So there's a lot of sort of stress. So I came back into consulting about just over 2.5 years ago. I did put on 25% of my body weight in less than 2.5 years, right? And in absolute terms, it's a fair amount of weight, because I'm not a particularly small guy here. Okay. I guess a function of my age is I suffer from a few ailments. One of them is high blood pressure. And so I went to see my cardiologist about 4 months ago. And he just turned around and told me, which was a bit of a wake-up call, which he said, something, young man, I've known you for 4 years. You are X number of kilos heavier than you were 2 years ago. And I don't see any reason why you should be, because you have all the means in the world. And yes, you might say your life's stressful and the fact that you travel, but it's all under your control. Now, I've gone ahead. I've dropped 13 kilos in 14 weeks, which is pretty decent. Okay. I've done it largely because out of portion control. And it also tells me that it was so much excess weight. That's why it sort of fell off, right? I'm starting to get to that problematic end now. Right, I can see that I'm not losing weight at the same rate as I was. What do you do with a guy like me? And there's quite a few of us around.
Yeah, I know a few. I would start like Simon Sinek would say, start with the why. Why would you want to lose weight? Why would you want to go back to...
It's purely health. It's a wake-up call to me came from my interaction with the doctor. Not the fact that, tens of my friends had told me that, Arjun, you put on too much weight, right? I ignored all of that, went to the doctor, I did, right?
So longevity, you want to live longer. You want to avoid an early death.
Let's put it that way. I think it's less driven by the fact that I want to live to 100, but it's more driven by the fact that I have 2 young daughters, right?
There you go.
And that's it. But I knew that 6 months ago too.
Until the wake-up call happened.
Well, if you deem that as a wake-up call, yes, until the wake-up call happened, right? Problem is I'm hitting that plateau now, which there is a high probability that I'll maintain this weight, but I need to drop another X number, right? Where do I go from here? And I say this because there are so many people I meet who are in the same boat. They start with the enthusiasm, they make some good progress, then the progress becomes harder, and then complacency kicks in, or
it's also your body that doesn't like to lose weight, right? Your body doesn't necessarily like to lose weight. The moment when you build businesses, you invested in businesses, you know that in order to reach to $1 million in revenue is a very different skill set than you need to get to your first $10 million, right? So this means that what got you here will not get you there. Same happens with your weight. What got you to lose the first 10 pounds or 10 kilos will not get you to lose the next 20. Fundamentally and physiologically, your body needs less energy to function because you weigh less, right? So your metabolic rate has slowed down, which means that you have to further either decrease the food or increase the output in order to maintain the same calorie deficit. Now, the good thing about this is that once you go through this, you'll be able to reverse your calories and bring your metabolism back to homeostasis. Homeostasis, I would label this as the happy place of your body, and you will be able to eat more calories and maintain your ideal weight. But there is a phase in which you either have to reduce the food or increase the daily movement. And that's just a process that you have to go through, which is not forever, but until you reach your desired weight. Once you reach there, you can, again, reverse the calories. And I always like to say this, life happens at maintenance. Maintenance meaning maintenance calories. You cannot live on a diet, you cannot live on a deficit. That's not fun. But there is a way in which increase the output, decrease the food, taking care of your protein intake so you don't lose muscle mass. And then once we reach that final destination, we carefully would reverse the calories to leave your body in a place of homeostasis where you can eat more and not worry about losing weight again.
Wait. So let me ask a related question. We talked about wellness, and I'm just going to go to another topic which gets talked about a lot these days. Sleep deprivation, right? Is that a topic we can get into?
We're bringing a sleeping coach in Jan at Fab after our ergonomist, so I think it's quite important, yeah.
Okay, so again, there's a lot of data which suggests that lack of sleep physically hurts you, lack of sleep mentally hurts you. I'm assuming lack of sleep emotionally hurts you. Most of us are not, even if we are sleeping the hours, we're not sleeping the quality of sleep, right? Is that actually true?
Yeah, for sure.
And go ahead.
What is the last thing that you do before you go to bed?
So I try and get off all electronics, but the problem I have is I'm an avid reader, and I read on my tablet screen. And that's like the worst thing in the world you could do, because you've got all this, I guess, energy-based product just throwing light into your eyes. Some nights I just go on and it's like 2:33 in the morning. I don't sleep early, unfortunately, right? But again, there's an area that I'm realizing, and the more I talk about it, is sorting sleep. So what are you doing from a wellness perspective in getting people more aware about the importance of sleep, and what is that they should do?
Well, if there's no sleep or not good quality sleep, nothing else would matter. Like trying to lose weight, trying to be emotionally or mentally healthy without good sleep, it's
impossible.
It's impossible. It's physiologically impossible. I'm not a sleep expert, but I know enough to state that good sleep is all about activating certain hormones and deactivating others. And with my students and with everyone in the bank, if we talk about sleep, I have two different routines. One is more for beginners, the other one is more for advanced, and I would call them crazy people because I don't even follow that. It's the 5-to-1 routine and the 3-to-1 routine. Let's start with the easy one, 3-to-1 routine. 3 hours before, you dim the lights of the room or wherever you may be, because that is going to impair melatonin, right? 2 hours before your last meal. Some people say 3 hours. I think 2 hours is is enough time for your digestive system to process the food. And 1 hour before, no more phone. So I put a reverse alarm, and the moment that alarm goes off, airplane mode, and then it's time to shower, talk actually, because we don't talk much. And I realized that I should talk more to my wife, for instance, right? She's with the phone, I'm with the phone, like, what's going on?
It's the secret of a successful marriage.
Exactly, no argument, right? So, yeah, 1 hour before, no electronics, read a book. I'm reading now, actually, Outlive by the author, Attia is the last name, Peter Attia.
Okay.
Read a book, and then that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had a 5-to-1 routine, which you'll be surprised. 5 hours before, no more high-intensity exercise. Otherwise, cortisol will go through the roof. And what you want, again, is to activate certain hormones and deactivate others. 4 hours before, and this is the one that I struggle with, is no more business thoughts. For me, business thoughts, honestly, pretty much until the last minute, and we're not perfect. But why? Because a lot of executives, a lot of people I work with, they have this issue of the racing mind, right? So they are thinking about business, their mind is constantly active, and they struggle to sleep because they're thinking of their managers or reports and whatnot. So those are the 5-to-1 and the 3-to-1 routine that, if applied, they will massively improve your sleep.
So there's a lot of tools out there right now for wellness and they even go as far as helping you achieve your work-life balance and so on and so forth. Is there one which, and I'm not asking for endorsement or anything like that, is there one in terms of habits or tools which is neither 5-1 or 3-1, which you would recommend people listening to us today to consider? Just help you monitor where your health is, or help you get on this journey of getting more well?
To be honest, I have an Apple Watch home, I have an Oura Ring home. At the end of the day, before getting into devices, I would just self-assess and wake up in the morning and think to myself, do I need a coffee? Am I energized? Have I woken up during the night? How long did it take me to fall asleep? Those are 3 questions.
Yep.
How long did it take me to fall asleep? Did I wake up during the night? And do I need a coffee as soon as I wake up? Now, here's 2 things that I would like to share with you because you might not know. When it comes to water intake, a good hack that I use is to taper down the water intake after 6 p.m. because a lot of my students, a lot of the people I talk to on a daily basis, they wake up in the middle of the night to use the toilet. That messes with their sleep. And the first thing that they do, and again, there's new studies and you will always find studies defending one thing, one side of the equation and the other. But to me, the more I delay caffeine, the more sustained energy I'm going to get.
I agree with you. So it's not simple, is it?
It is simple. It is not easy. Think of a push-up.
Okay, all right. So apologies. Let me use those words interchangeably. It's not easy.
If I tell you to do a push-up, it's simple, right? It's still easy. But if I ask you to do 100, the movement's still simple, right? It's a push movement. But it's not easy. The same happens with this. It is very easy to 3 hours before dim the lights, 2 hours before have your last meal, and 1 hour before put a reverse alarm.
Yep.
Why it's not easy is because you have different devices and people, an environment
There's
nudging
too many
you.
variables.
Yeah.
There's too many variables. So and this has always been my concern, right? With all due respect, there are so many people who pass very sound wisdom, right? But most of us are unable to practically take that advice and put it into the context of our lives. It's like something has to give. I'll finish this episode with you today. I'm actually most probably heading back to work, right? I'm going to then spend a couple of hours there. I'll finish work around 9:30. I'll get back home. I usually eat early, so I don't, I eat at about 4. I don't eat after 4. Maybe I'll have a little bit, like a banana or something at night. And that's fine. That food bit I can manage. But everything else that you're talking about, which is around the exercising and, doing that extra bit, there are so many variables. And unfortunately, just exercising goes to the bottom of the pyramid. Now, I read a lot of your posts, right? And you're constantly, passing some good tips and suggestions and recommendations. And I'm assuming you live by them.
100%.
All right. Do you really see people taking this up as seriously?
I have had, I should have, couldn't screenshot this, but I have DMs on LinkedIn from men and women that really, some of them became clients after having implemented XYZ from my content. I know that the moment that you give people a roadmap, we don't need new information. We need better implementation, and that's given through the right frameworks, through the right systems, right? So what I try to do in my content is to give frameworks. The moment you have the framework, you just have to focus on 4 Ps. Planning, prevent, support, performance, right? So all you do is set the different milestones that are going to get you to your goals. You literally hit your goals by default. And I'll give you an example. Do you struggle with cravings at night? Because you said you stay up late.
So I used to. Now I've learned how to manage those cravings. But yes, that was my biggest problem. And to add to it, I have an incredibly sweet tooth. So it was not just cravings. It would land up with things like ice cream, which are twice as bad, if not 10 times as bad.
I would set a contingency plan. For instance, if you would have one of these automatic to dim the lights, just for the sake of an example, if you set that automatically and the moment that 7 p.m. hits, the lights dim automatically, you are setting a system that is going to enable you to succeed when it comes to your goals. Do not keep chocolate at home so you cannot reach it.
Tell me about
right?
it. Yeah.
That's another system. It sounds simple, but it's just a system that is in line with your goals.
Fair enough.
Hydrate yourself throughout the day. Most of the times we think we are hungry and we are just dehydrated, right? If you, in this climate in the UAE, if you're drinking less than 2 liters of water a day,
dehydrated.
you are begging for chronic fatigue.
No, agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
So if you would hydrate yourself, you set another system where you have your bottles at the office, at home. So you are setting systems that are in line with those goals, and you sort of remove decision fatigue from the equation, right? So that's what I would do. I would start by understanding what my goals are. I'll set the right systems that are in line with those goals. I will plan for them, set milestones, and every time you tick one of those boxes, it builds momentum. And when you realize, it's like, I cannot snack on any ice cream. I'm actually not even hungry because I'm hydrated, right? So
no, I agree with you. I think the hydration thing helps. It's without doubt. I live with it. You mentioned frameworks earlier today, right? Well, just a few moments back, and you said that you provide a lot of frameworks when you are actually posting on LinkedIn and sort of other channels, right? I'm assuming these frameworks are not tailored to any particular segment because everybody's reading them.
I focus on executives, men and women who are busy, who have above average levels of stress, no time, and they want to live longer and get access to the ultimate currency that they've lost a while ago, which is energy. So through these lifestyle interventions and frameworks, I aim to enable the tools and resources so they can regain all that.
So you just defined 99% of my friends. Okay.
And mine as well.
Uh-huh. So I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind, share a framework with us today.
You would wake up to the body, mind, and soul routine. You do something for your body, something for your mind, something for your soul. So quick mobility workout, 5 minutes, 10 things you're grateful for, and read 2 pages of a book. Then you would consume carbohydrates before and after exercise, mostly, and the rest of the day would be protein and fats. These will give you sustained levels of energy. You will also delay coffee and
as much as possible.
And start with water.
Mm-hmm.
And towards the evening, you would probably allocate exercise before 4 p.m., last cup of coffee 8 hours before bed, because the half-life of caffeine is 4 or 5 hours. And then, let's say 3 hours before bed, you start with the 3-2-1 routine. And you can also enable carbohydrates before bed, right? As long as they are the right type of carbohydrates 2 hours before. Mm-hmm. And this will help you sleep better. Mm-hmm. Don't have, let's say, like a reasonable portion, right? Like a conservative portion. You will sleep better. You will, I don't like to go to bed hungry. And you will still have that ability to have a flexible meal with your family. You don't want to be like the odd guy in the corner having a, whilst your family is enjoying a play. I value adherence and quality of life. If I have to go to bed hungry, then that's not fun. Right? Yeah, you need to. Adherence is the most important component when it comes to wellness. So that's the framework that I would follow. Just the food again.
The framework is impossible to follow.
What part of it?
You just said you got to do gym before 4 o'clock in the afternoon. What are the chances of that happening? 3, 2, 1, right? If I want to be in bed by, let's say, 11 at the very latest, 3, 2, 1 needs to kick off at 8.
But you know that kickoff is just dimming the lights a little bit, and the dinner by 9. And at 10, you technically, with this framework, you can actually watch your favorite series from 9 to 9:30. And gym, there's studies that show that 90 minutes of exercise, of resistance training a week, are enough to retain muscle mass. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to even exercise every day. I don't exercise anymore every day. I am active every day. I work out 3 times a week.
So when you say active, like, so you measure by number of steps or on your time on feet, or how do you measure?
I think, 100 years ago, the average steps of a human being would have been above 20,000 for sure. Now, we barely hit 3,000, right? So
wow.
I would say 8,000 is a bare minimum. So to enable sufficient blood circulation and to basically attain an output of calories that are going to compensate for all these calorie-dense foods and sedentary lifestyle, right? So a standing desk, best investment. Learning to take the stairs more often, parking away from the entrance of the building unless it's the summer here. Walking meetings. I will share with you my book, Lose Weight at Work.
Okay.
Not because you need it, but because I think it has...
No, I'm happy to use it to lose it.
It has some relevant, useful, practical frameworks and nuggets of information. So being more active, being more on your feet.
So here's a question. Why are you in the UAE for what you do?
I ended up here and I fell in love with the city. I fell in love with the culture. And I happened to connect very well with the country. And I wouldn't see myself living anywhere else.
And you saw enough unhealthy people and enough...
Not particularly. I mean, when you look at other countries, like there's nothing but, I mean, there is, like everywhere else in the world, but that wouldn't be the reason. I think I just happened to connect in a place where my expertise was demanded, and just life takes you through miraculous paths.
No, it's very interesting because I'll be honest with you. I've met a lot of people who are in holistic medicine. I've met a lot of people who are in self-help, personal development. Obviously, you have wellness instructors. But I haven't come across many people, except personal coaches for some very, very senior people, where an organization has sort of gone and hired someone with the mandate of help the entire organization, not just the senior management. So here's my last question. It's a double-barreled question. So firstly, are you confident that you're going to see a distinct improvement in what I call wellness-related productivity increases across the UAE in the foreseeable future? And if you say that, I want to know why. And should I ask the second question at the same time, or should I wait for that?
Let's wait.
Okay.
My ADHD would kick in and I'll get sidetracked.
All right, go for it.
100%. The region is headed into a direction where the whole world is looking up to Dubai and the UAE. When you look at 30-30 starting tomorrow, you get millions of people on the streets. That's unheard of. And if we look at 2030, how things are going to evolve, I think it's just going to keep getting better, and people are going to become more and more active. And I hope for that as well. Maybe I'm biased, I'm not sure, but I do strongly believe that we're headed in the right direction on that front.
Okay, last question. Do you see other organizations, other banks starting to hire chief wellness officers?
100%.
Do you have people, is there like a chief wellness officers clique somewhere?
I haven't heard of, I know there's companies with chief well-being officers.
Well, I guess it's the same.
I would say that well-being is more of the outcome and wellness is more in regards to the mechanics and vehicle that you use to get there. Although, yeah, I do see organizations at least hiring someone responsible for wellness. Let me tell you that they're spending the money anyway, and you see organizations spending money on what I call the firework syndrome.
Yeah.
They basically launch an initiative there. It doesn't seem to fit. They launch another one. There is no internal lever that can strategize and make that, convert that principle into a strategy. And that's why, because the money is being invested regardless, I think organizations will realize that they need someone to conduct the orchestra. So I do see that this role will grow, evolve, and
so we're gonna have a chief wellness officers club very soon.
Masterminds and best practices, and that'll be great. That'll be great because there's a lot to learn from others. So that'll be amazing.
No, that's great. Now, Diego, this has been interesting. It's been fascinating. As a matter of fact, I'm just assuming if I can carry on with that wake-up call. I'm going to try this 3, 2, 1. Okay. I don't know when. Maybe tomorrow I'll try because it's a holiday. So maybe at home I can try 3, 2, 1. Because I'll be honest with you, again, I use myself as the reference point. I think the number of people who are struggling with sleep, I struggle with sleep all the time. And that happens to have a knock-on effect. Touch wood, I wake up pretty sprightly and I don't need coffee because I do exactly what you said. I try to drink a lot of water to sort of, nothing else, to flush the system out, right? And then, if at all I have coffee, it's around 2:33, right? Which is if you need that last push of energy, which will take me to 8 or 9 o'clock. Because if I have coffee, as you said, at 7 o'clock, I ain't sleeping till 1, even if I'm tired.
How many coffees do you have?
Only
daily?
1 a day. So I have, not to get into it, I have certain complications, which coffee is an inflammatory. It doesn't work well with inflammation. So I have only 1 cup of coffee. I don't have any lactose because I realized that actually milk was one of the reasons I was always very uncomfortable, because I grew up liking a lot of milk. Right, so I used to drink just glasses of milk. Right, and as the saying goes, that a calf doesn't drink milk after 6 months, but we force our kids till the age of 20.
There's one data point, by the way, that I want to share with you. I have observed, and this is through experience, I'm not sure if there's any studies, anywhere above 4 mg of caffeine per kilo of body weight will result in you or the person consuming the caffeine starting to experience the downsides of caffeine.
Yeah.
So if you look at
withdrawal symptoms and stuff. Yes.
Yeah. So I would say 2-3 coffees a day, 3 max, depending on your weight. But
Yeah, I have one. I used to drink 8.
No way.
Yeah. I think I spent my entire 30s drinking. The joke is, and this is a show, but we're having this conversation. My second biggest expense when I used to live in London outside my rent was Starbucks.
Wow.
Because it was not only just the 8 coffees, but then the
Your
coffees
second biggest expense.
Yes.
So after rent was coffee.
was coffee. Or Starbucks, because I'd land up having a muffin or
Wow.
a croissant. Or, yeah. And I'm a guy from finance, so trust me, I do my numbers.
Well, now you're off it, so
Yeah, well, now it's not the second biggest expense. I have daughters. Don't worry about that. They take care of the expense now. But no, Diego, thanks for coming in.
you so
We
much.
will definitely stay in touch. I might have to even give you a call and ask for some advice on what I should do. I'm gonna start. As I said, I totally appreciate what you said. What helped me with the first 10 kilos is not going to help me with the next 10 kilos. But what I'm really hoping is, I think the takeaway for me from this message is, because a very large audience of who listen into me are people who are from the financial services world. Invariably, people in the financial services world have sort of, long working hours. They are, I think, a lot of them have high stress. People try and deal with stress through medication. I always suggest that, medication is the last resort.
I speak from experience, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into details, but everything that I talk about.
Yeah, and I can only second that. So a lot of people take medication. My suggestion is not to. So I hope a lot of these people who do listen in actually pay some attention, because and this will end this conversation. Is I saw a LinkedIn post the other day which said, if you're gone, your company will replace you within days, if not weeks. Your family does not have a replacement, right? Because you're irreplaceable to your family, right? And I think that needs, that penny needs to drop with a lot of people.
I need to share this. I've read the similar. The only people that will remember that you worked late are your kids.
True.
That hit home. It was like, wow.
Yeah, and that's true. That's true, and that what my daughters remind me every day, right? So with that, thanks for coming in.
Pleasure.
Everybody, that was Diego Carrete. He is the Chief Wellness Officer of FAB, and as he said, there's going to be quite a few of them around, or hers, or hims, in the near future. I'm actually, kudos to FAB to have taken this progressive step and sort of getting someone in charge to kind of drive this wellness agenda. I hope this break away from the usual fintech and payments and everything embedded conversations, this was pleasantly different, and you guys will take something away. We'll see each other next week. Thank you and goodbye.